Alright, so picking up where we left off from the last episode, just so you guys know, I did talk to my friend regarding the EDT thing. I didn't want to look it up myself, so I had him look it up, and it is an actual chemical compound, but as far as what my friend saw, the story that Seven told about it is false. It's not true. So, it never happened. It was a crazy story, but so I didn't think it sounded realistic with the whole, like, crystals starting to become hydrate all over the world mysteriously, you know, but, either way, I'm gonna keep that in mind, because some of these stories, I feel like they're being told for a reason. But, yeah, we finished that puzzle that we got stuck on for a little bit there, with the mannequins and everything. We had a nice chat with Clover and everything, so let's keep going, shall we?
Hey man, what's up with you? You're so serious, you know? Can't you sound more happy, get a little excited? Ugh.
Ugh.
Not really.
Junpei turned away from Seven and took his first step down the simple white hallway. Alright, let's see what's in for us this time.
My brother might be dead. I'm going to be next.
Clover had told him only a few minutes before that her brother was probably dead and she was likely to follow him.
Like hell I can. Not after hearing something like that.
Yeah. I mean, she has no proof. You found it! Alright. I probably should have finished the episode after that one, but, oh well. They left the operating room. The hallway took them around several corners and past several doors, but they were all locked.
There too, huh? Every door in this place is locked up tight.
How about that one?
The final door was hidden in a corner of a wall.
May as well give it a try.
Alright. Junpei grabbed the handle. As he made to push it open, a voice stopped him. The voice came from behind him and belonged to neither Seven nor Clover. Oh, are we meeting up with the other group already?
Jumpy!
June! Huh? He spun around. He saw someone running towards him from the other end of the hallway. There were 3 people coming towards Junpei and his companions.
June?
Three? Is that right?
And Santa! And Lotus too!
Uh-huh. They pulled up short in front of Junpei, breathing hard.
Whoa! What the hell is this?
What?
What are you doing here?
Oh, they
What?
met up.
But we didn't...
Before he could finish, Clover spoke.
Hey guys! Could you come take a look at this?
Oh, take a look at what? She was standing near the end of a small hallway that branched off to the right. The rest of them ran over to her, curious as to what she had found.
Look on the wall here.
There was something on the wall at the end of the hallway.
A map of the ship's interior?
Oh,
It
we already
says
have,
C-deck.
like, one of them. I guess we have a different deck, possibly?
So it's the map for this floor, then?
Is this the hospital room that we were at before? It looks like it might be. I'm bad at maps.
Door 7. And...
Yeah, okay.
Door 8. Yep, they both eventually end up at this hallway.
Alright. In fact...
Yeah, isn't that what I said? We aren't going to be split up permanently till we find door 9.
Yeah.
We might get separated for a little while, but we'll see each other again. Otherwise, we won't be able to open door 9.
Yeah, I guess, when I was counting the people, I keep losing track of who's not with us now. Ace got left behind, Snake went missing, and then 9 blew up. So yeah, it would only be, 6 people now.
That's how the nonary game works.
I see.
Junpei looked at the map of the ship's interior again.
Wait a sec. Hey, could this lead to...
As he looked more closely, his surprise and excitement gave way to wariness.
Oh.
Oh, it's the door in this hallway leads back to the hospital room which is where Ace is. If we could unlock that door, then we could get Ace.
You've got to be kidding me.
One by one, the others saw what he'd seen.
We may as well go.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be locked, though, but we'll see. They moved as one for the door.
Oh, almost forgot. We should keep this.
He pulled the map of the ship's interior off the wall, put it in his pocket, and followed the others. The 6 of them stood in front of the door, arrayed in a semicircle. Santa stepped forward. He took hold of the door and spoke without looking back at the other 5.
Ready? I'm gonna open it.
Slowly, all 5 nodded their silent assent. With a deep breath, Santa threw open the door. Oh, it opened. Is he gonna be dead, though? Is it like, if everyone else leaves and you don't go through, you blow up? They poured through the doorway and into the room. Even without looking around, each one of them knew where they were.
I knew it.
They were just where the map had said they would be.
We're back.
Yep.
In the hospital room.
I see. I believe I understand what you're saying.
Ace!
The 6 of you split into 2 teams and went through doors 7 and 8. You solved the puzzles in the operating room and the laboratory, and then met one another in the hallway after opening your respective locked doors.
He looked like anyone might after only just waking up, but it seemed that his brain was working as well as ever. He had managed to grasp, summarize, and understand each team's report.
At any rate, I feel a bit silly for my little show of altruism. I know I said I was sure you'd come back for me. I didn't think it would happen so soon, though.
Neither did I. Ace shook his head with a rueful smile.
Well, we saw each other again and we ain't dead, so I say that's good enough.
7 smiled.
Anyway, I say we get out of this creepy old place. We found the key we need.
The key?
Ain't that what I just said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room.
Yep.
Right, Junpei?
Yeah.
Junpei nodded.
Oh, the solar system keys. We found a couple more in the laboratory in the kitchen.
Oh, nice.
Here, the Earth key and the Saturn key card.
And with that, she pressed them into Junpei's hand. The metal key and the Earth symbol... The metal key had the Earth symbol on it, and the key card had the Saturn symbol on it.
I might lose it. It's probably better if you hold on to it. That way it won't be my fault if it gets lost.
Yeah. On it.
Junpei felt slightly less than honored.
Now we have 3 keys that we haven't used yet.
Yeah. The Jupiter key that we found in the operating room.
Right.
The Earth key that Lotus just gave me.
Yep.
And the Saturn key card that Lotus said was in the kitchen.
Yes. Alright. Junpei tucked the new keys into his pocket. Jun spoke up.
The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of that long, straight hallway, right?
Yeah. If the map's right, then it connects to the central staircase. Then, next to the stairs...
Wait!
They were the first words anyone had heard out of Clover in quite some time. Her face suggested they weren't going to be very happy words.
What about door 3?
Look, you saw the map, right?
Oh.
It's the same as 7 and 8. It just lead us back to the
But
big
will we
hospital.
get another key?
There's no point to seeing what's on the other side of that door.
There is a point. At least there is for me.
There were tears in her eyes, but she glared at 7 as hard as she could, just the same. She looked very much like a frightened puppy. There wasn't a man alive who could have resisted those eyes. 7 looked everywhere in the room except at Clover and muttered and coughed apologies under his breath.
Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. Snake might be on the other side of door 3.
Clover nodded once. The next person to speak was Ace.
Very well. I'll be coming with you then.
Oh, alright.
I've had a nice long rest. I think it's time I was up and about again. So 7, you'll help me, won't you?
Huh? Me?
Junpei did the calculations quickly in his head. 4 plus 1 plus 7 equals 12, 1 plus 2 is 3, yeah. It looked like 7 was doing them too. At last, he gave up.
Damn. Well, I guess that's how it's gotta be.
So they're gonna go off
Going with you, huh?
without us?
Yes, you are.
I thought I was gonna have to do another puzzle.
Alright, let's get moving.
And so it was decided that Clover, Ace, and Seven would discover what lay beyond door 3.
Okay, we're heading out.
Alright.
Be careful.
Whoa. Didn't think I'd be hearing that from you, Lotus.
Don't let it go to your head. I'd be in trouble if the 3 of you bought it. The rest of us can't open the 9 door.
Oh, true.
Ah, the truth comes out.
Seven nodded as if this answer made much more sense and pulled the lever on the red.
Okay, we're off.
The door opened, and Ace, Clover, and Seven jumped through it. Alright, they're off. 6, 7, 8, and exactly 9 seconds, and the door closes. Noisily. I thought I said noiselessly for some
All right,
reason.
we should get
At
moving
first I was
too.
like, wait, what?
Huh?
Get moving.
Where are we going?
Everyone except Lotus seemed rather confused. I mean, we might as well go scout things out, right?
Well, it would be a waste of time to just sit around, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Let me explain.
Oh, I get it. We're
They
gonna see if we
skipped
can
it.
get anywhere interesting with the Jupiter key.
Yes.
They skipped
If
our
we're lucky,
explanation.
we might find Snake.
Alright. They were at the end of the hallway, lined by individual hospital rooms.
And here's the Jupiter symbol on the keyhole.
Alright.
All right, Junpei, open it if you please.
Yeah, on it.
Junpei pulled the Jupiter key out of his pocket and slid it into the keyhole. He twisted. With a nice, sharp click, he felt the door unlock. Junpei sucked in a breath, held it, and opened the door as quietly as he could. Oh boy, so back at the staircase, here we go. Inside was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like a ballroom with a massive central staircase.
Great, back to the beginning. You sure this is a good idea?
What do you mean?
Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we? I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here.
Oh, I have to make a choice. Of course there's a reason.
Of course there's a reason. Man, sometimes I can't tell if you're smart or just lucky.
Huh?
This.
Jeez, Junpei. Junpei pulled 2 things out of his pockets.
The Saturn key card. And the Earth key? I'm lost.
Santa cocked his head to one side like an inquisitive bird and looked at them. After several long moments during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what the cards meant, June took pity on him.
Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck, where we are now, there was a big elevator behind the stairs, remember? And
Yes.
next to the elevator, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. And on A deck, on the door to the left, there was a keyhole with the Earth symbol on it.
Yep.
I think. So the 2 keys that Jumpy has?
Should let us use the elevator and the door on A deck. Huh.
Yes, that's right.
June smiled, pleased with herself. So did Santa.
All right, I got it. Let's get started then. What do you say we split into 2 teams? Lotus and I will search the Earth one, so you 2 can search Saturn, all right?
Sounds good. Then
All
you
right.
guys should take this key.
Junpei handed the Earth key to Santa. They decided that their initial search should be brief.
We have no idea what's on the other side of these. So don't go too far. Just search for 10 minutes and come back.
Alright, 10 minutes, come back. Plan decided, the 2 teams split it up. Junpei and June headed for the elevators.
There's a card reader next to the left elevator.
Then let's try out the Saturn key card.
Just don't make the elevator go down, or you'll probably die to all the water that's down there. A light on the upper corner blinked to life.
Great! It looks like it's working now.
All right, now how do I call the elevator?
Hit the button. There's a single button to the right of the elevator door.
Oh, it only has the upside down triangle on it.
Oh.
I guess there's no up button.
Well, crap.
Well,
We can't go
May
down.
as well try pushing this one.
Oh, jeez. The door slid shut and they heard the grinding of the motor as the elevator car moved down. Okay. Well,
It opened!
that's
Look,
a
Jumpy!
creepy looking elevator. I don't like it. June's voice was excited, but Junpei could hear a tinge of anxiety.
Sweet! It opened! Let's get going.
I guess, maybe the down arrow brought it down from wherever it was? I don't know. He grinned at June and stepped toward the open door. As he was about to set foot in it, he felt a hand on his arm.
Wait!
What?
I'm not really, I just, oh gosh.
What's up, June? Junpei was at something of a loss. Is she scared of elevators? Or is she just scared in general? What's wrong, June? What could possibly be so frightening of... June was probably afraid of... being locked up alone with a boy? They could only go down, I think. She was afraid because the only elevator button pointed down, yeah. That meant, of course, that the elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on the A or B decks near the central stairs. All of which meant the elevator could only convey them to the lower decks, which is filled with water!
Come to think of it, the lower floor, D deck, is completely underwater. An elevator heading to a submerged floor. That is pretty scary.
Yep.
Hey, wait a minute.
Or is that section with the elevator, like, submerged?
This elevator came up from somewhere under us, right?
I kind of, as much as I want to do the right answers and I want to play it smart in this, and I'm sure it wouldn't have affected too much, but I kind of wanted to see what her reaction would have been if I did the other option and just been, "Are you scared to be locked up with the boy?" and just see what she would have said. Anyway. If I ever have to do this part again to get one of the other endings, because I will be doing some of the other endings as well, regardless of the one that I get, I might pick that option just to see what happens. Okay.
Well, yes, I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor noise, like it was moving, and then it opened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So, take a look inside.
Junpei jerked his head towards the interior of the elevator.
It's not wet at all, is it? The walls and even the floor are totally dry.
Oh, you're right.
Oops, I cut her off. She looked around the elevator, slightly embarrassed.
Well, let's test it.
Yeah, I did notice that it wasn't wet, but kind of scary though.
Test it.
Yeah, watch this. Now, I'll just put one foot inside the elevator and look over at the buttons. Oh, there's only two, E and C. All right, I'll push E.
He pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut and they heard the grinding noise of the motor as the elevator car moved down. Yeah, so the elevator will move, go to E, and then it'll probably open there, and then they'll call it back, and if it's still not wet, then...
I think I can hear it opening on E deck.
Then that means it's safe. Relatively safe, anyway. Hopefully.
Okay, that's done. Now I'll just press the button again.
A few moments later, the elevator returned. Alright, looks the same.
Yep, not a single drop of water to be seen. See?
Junpei couldn't resist puffing out his chest just a little bit. June, however, still looked confused.
What does that mean? How can E deck be safe if the D deck is full of water?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft and E deck must be watertight and separated from wherever the ship's been punctured. Here, let me show you.
He pulled out his notebook and pen and sketched out a rough illustration. Alright.
I see.
That is a
So
rough
is that why
illustration.
the ship hasn't sunk? The shape of the inside keeps it all from filling with water?
Yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Alright. Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his pocket.
So I'm gonna go down and check it out. You stay here, alright?
But...
Come on, just do it, alright?
He gave Jun's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, then hopped onto the elevator. Alright. He pushed the E button and the door began to close. Jun looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth as if she was trying to make a decision when suddenly...
I'm coming with you!
Alright.
Huh?
Something in my eye. At the last possible moment, Jun dashed forward, turning sideways just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors.
Hey, wait!
Junpei jammed his finger against the open button, but it was too late. Alright.
Oh, crap. It closed.
The door had shut, he and Jun were in the elevator, and it was headed down to E deck. He was so surprised by Jun that he didn't even have time to think about what awaited him on the E deck.
I can't just let you go alone, you know.
Ah, jeez.
Alright. The elevator stopped and the door slid open. They tentatively stepped out and looked around.
It looks normal.
Yeah, they're not drowning. No fish going about their fishy business or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. Yep, that's for sure. Thanks, narration. There was, however, a blowfish? Or at least something like very much like one. What? Jun's cheeks were puffed out and her mouth a tiny, intense frown. What?
Oh, knock it
Oh,
off.
she was holding her
It's
breath.
just like I thought. This part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around. There's no water here.
Jun looked around nervously, then exhaled.
You're right. It's not flooded at all.
See?
But there's a whole lot of water.
Yeah, right on top of us.
What's gonna happen if the ceiling breaks?
Junpei thought about that for a moment.
We'd probably die.
Yeah.
Oh no. Don't be so casual about something like that.
At any rate, we should probably go back as soon as we can, once we're done looking around down here. Lotus and Santa might already be back.
Okay, good idea.
Alright.
Now then.
Junpei glanced around the room they'd found themselves in. First thing he noticed was a set of thick iron bars. They ran the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right one.
Iron bars. Well, we can't go over there.
I'm guessing we need a different keycard to go down the other elevator, potentially? I can't remember if there was a different symbol on that one.
Right.
Then maybe...
Or maybe there's no reader on that one. In the corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found an opening.
Well,
He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner.
it looks like there's a long
Oh.
straight hallway down this way.
A 6-door.
Something's written on the door at the end. Wait, is that...
Let's check.
Yep. Junpei and Jun set off down the hallway at a brisk clip, somewhere between a run and a jog. Before long, they found themselves in front of the door. On it was a number written in bright red paint, 6.
I knew it!
This is a numbered door.
And indeed, there was a red bolted to the wall right next to the door.
But we can't do anything with only the two of us.
We better head back and let everyone know.
Alright.
Yes.
Junpei and Jun turned and head back to C deck.
Wait, what's this?
On the way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall.
Is this the map for E-Deck? I should take it with me.
We don't get to see it yet, though? Alright.
Huh, so you guys found door 1.
Ah, door 1. They'd met back up with Santa and Lotus, who had explained what they'd found. Apparently, there was another numbered door on A deck, just like the one on E deck, beyond the door that the Earth key opened. According to Santa and Lotus, there was a 1 on the door.
So now we've located 2 new doors. The 6 door and the 1 door.
You know, it is interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded.
Lotus was quiet for a moment, lost in thought.
Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator.
Even so, it's still very interesting.
You said the 6th door was there, right?
Yes.
Then that means Zero planned all this out, even the sinking. That would have meant some pretty serious remodeling of the ship's interior.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah. Or... the ship was just in a warehouse and he flooded that other wing on D deck. On purpose! No. My stupid theory that I keep going on about.
Yeah, I wonder how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost.
It would have been a ton, that's for sure.
While that does go along with what Ace was saying, the most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash.
Yes, it does make sense.
That thought made them all go quiet for a moment. June bit her lip while Lotus sighed softly to herself, and Santa cracked a stiff neck and stared off into the distance at nothing.
Yeah?
I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here.
June looked up at Junpei with large, pleading eyes.
Yeah, you're right. Ace and his team might be back already.
Well, Junpei and I should be able to open door 1.
Huh? You guys leaving me behind?
Yeah, 8 plus 6 plus 5, 19. 1 plus 9, 10. We won.
Just kidding. All right, let's go.
What would that leave the rest of them at? That was, 7, Clover, Ace, and Santa. We'll wait. I'm not gonna sit here and waste time doing math when I don't have to. We'll see, half the time the game, like, picks what the teams are gonna be for me regardless, so... Lotus's words were all the impetus they needed. Back to the large hospital room they went. Alright. The moment they stepped inside, a tremendous voice echoed across the room.
Hey! Where the hell did you guys go?
It was 7.
7?
Ace was right behind him, and Clover was behind Ace, although she seemed to be hanging back.
What's wrong?
It looked as though there was something strange about them. Uh-oh. 7 had the look of a man who'd seen a ghost, Ace was just as pale, and Clover looked as though she was only moments from passing out entirely. Oh jeez. For a long moment, they simply stood there looking at one another. Junpei looked around nervously, waiting for someone else to speak. No one did. He looked at 7.
What happened?
What the hell kind of question is that?
7 was trying very hard to be angry, but something had shaken him hard. His shoulders were trembling and his voice was strained.
Snake was...
Oh jeez.
Snake is...
He dead? 7 couldn't finish. He just looked away, his face twisted by... Junpei wasn't sure what. Instead, Ace spoke. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and spoke.
Snake is... dead.
Yep. Ah, what? Friggin' A. I liked Snake, he was my favorite! How?
He died, just as the 9th man did.
What? It was as if all the air had suddenly been sucked out of the room. Junpei felt his heartbeat quicken, and he realized he was having a hard time, or he's having trouble breathing. So, he friggin... Why would he go through door 3? Wait, how could he have gone through door 3? His number was 2. There's no way, like... He wouldn't have been able to open the door himself. I don't know, man. Unless there's, like, other people in our group that opened the door with him and then, like, pushed him through and shut it or some shit. I don't know. He could feel the cold sweat beating on his forehead and neck. June, Santa, and Lotus looked the way he felt. All 3 were frozen in place, their faces white.
Oh my god. That's not true, is it?
We should make sure.
Yeah, right. We should.
Oh, jeez.
Wait, not that way.
What? Why not?
They stopped short and turned to look at 7. He was pointing at the door with no number.
I stuck a screwdriver in there to keep the door from closing all the way.
Alright.
It's not locked, so you can go in that way.
Where is he?
The shower room, on the left side of the hallway. I put a broom in there too to keep the door open.
That means we can get in without going through the numbered door, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is good.
Let's go.
We don't want to go through that. Their new destination cleared, Junpei and his companions headed for the door with no number. Once in the hallway, it was easy to spot the metal door on the left wall.
This wasn't open when we passed here before.
But now, just as Seven had said, there was a broom stuck between the door and the frame, keeping it open.
Well, let's keep going.
Ugh, friggin' snake. I don't know how this happens. How did this happen? They looked at it for a moment, then stepped inside.
Oh, it smells horrible.
Lotus wrinkled her nose and covered her mouth in disgust. Even Santa pinched his nose shut.
Ugh, yeah, this is pretty awful. I feel like I'm gonna puke.
It was just as bad as they said, perhaps worse. A hideous smell filled the air, so thick they could almost taste it. It was sour and smelled of fish, feces, and burnt meat. Ugh. They didn't have to describe that to us. It worked its way through Junpei's nose and down his throat to pounding against the entrance of his stomach. He put his hands over his mouth and struggled to keep what little was in his stomach where it belonged.
Where is he? Where's Snake?
LR? Is that written in blood on the wall? They didn't have to wonder where the body was. LR. L could be Lotus, but we don't have anyone... Oh wait, there's another L, isn't there? I didn't realize that one. LLR?
There.
There was blood everywhere, a few arms of the splatter reaching toward them as they walked in through the door. All one had to do was follow the many radial arms to their source. The body itself was hidden behind a divider.
June, you should stay here.
But...
Please, just do me a favor, okay? Alright?
He didn't give her a chance to say no. He put his hand on her shoulder as if to shove her to the ground like a tent pole, turned, and walked towards the end of the divider.
I'm going in.
It felt like it took an eternity for him to get there. Santa and Lotus followed, timid and nervous as a pair of children. Eventually, they reached the divider. They looked at one another and nodded slowly. Junpei put his hands on the divider and peered around the corner. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. He felt his heart collapse in his chest like an empty cigarette carton, and time froze. He knew in that instant that he would take the image before him to the grave. What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. A vast ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out like fresh spaghetti. Ugh. Why, game? Why you have to explain it? Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall. God, I hate that. Tiny chunks of meat. Just thinking about like the human body in that manner is just and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall. Man, even as they dried to it, they really like describing this shit.
Just like Ace said.
Santa's voice was strained. Junpei suspected he was holding down some vomit of his own.
Just like the ninth man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gut.
It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful.
Oh god. The bone is coming out of his left arm.
It's definitely an open fracture.
His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces.
Oh, the face. It's horrible.
Yeah, can't even tell who it is.
Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. Ugh. His clothes, too, were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the gray slacks.
But the clothes are...
They were all familiar to Junpei.
No mistake about it. It's Snake.
Oh, man. Unless they put his clothes on someone else. But there's no one else there, so I don't know. Lotus's voice was unnaturally deep and strained, and Junpei heard it catch in her throat. LLR. They didn't even talk about it. Are we back here? The squeal of the tortured metal made Junpei's teeth curl. It sounded like the noise a ghost would make. No matter how many times he heard it, he never got used to it. Every time it put him on edge. It didn't help that there was a girl nearby who looked far more like a ghost than a living human should. It was Clover. She sat on the edge of the bed, her head drooping listlessly onto her chest. Her eyes were blank and stared across the room at nothing. Her breathing was slow and mechanical. Aside from the rise and fall of her chest, she didn't move. Junpei felt as if even a nudge might cause her to shatter into 1,000 pieces.
Snake was probably murdered. Chances are he was killed the same way the Ninth Man was.
That's what I thought, or that was one of my options. Seven lowered his voice, likely in an effort to keep Clover from hearing what he had to say. There were 4 other people in the room with Junpei and Seven. Ace, Santa, June, and Lotus. Seven looked at each one of them in turn and continued.
It's pretty straightforward. Not that hard to figure out how they did it. First, the killers got Snake to authenticate on the red to open door 3. Then they shoved him into it. Alone.
Yeah.
They had 9 seconds for the door to shut. Once that door shut, it was all over for Snake. But he didn't give up. He probably knew it wouldn't do him any good, but he probably ran into the shower room looking for the dead. It was a small chance, but it wasn't like he had anything to lose. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The detonator is only deactivated if everybody who authenticated when they went in uses the dead. Snake was the only one who went through the door. And then, 81 seconds after he was shoved in, that happened.
I see. So that's what you meant by killers, huh? You need at least 3 people to open one of the numbered doors, including Snake. It wouldn't open for Snake and a single killer.
Yeah. That means we're looking at multiple perps here.
Junpei crossed his arms and grunted.
Well, just in case, I want to make sure. Let's say you're right. When do you think Snake was killed?
When we all split up to look for the parts for the Reds, I think.
Right, that'd be like the only time.
Right after that was when we noticed he was gone.
Then that means none of us have alibis. We were all off searching the rooms we'd been assigned, looking for those parts.
Yeah. That means anybody could be a killer.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
June seemed shocked.
How can you say that so casually? You're implying that one of us is a killer.
Actually, 2 of you are a killer.
Well, not just one of us.
Yeah.
If I'm right, then at least 2 of us are murderers.
Why don't you calm down a bit, Seven? What are you going to gain by being so suspicious? That's what Zero wants, you know?
What Zero wants?
Exactly. This game was set up by Zero, wasn't it? Any game has a winner and loser.
Sorry, I was doing some quick math in my head. I was trying to figure out like some of the different combinations that might add up to 3, including Snake, to figure out who the other 2 people might be and how many like options there are. But really, like, I was obviously I was thinking the 2 people I dislike, Lotus and Snake, not a big fan of, and they don't add up. So because Lotus was acting very suspicious, you know, I felt like but I mean, I guess you can reverse engineer it. If it was Lotus and Snake, then that'd be 8, 9, 10, and then for 10 to equal 3, it would have to add another 2. So it literally couldn't have been Lotus, right? In any situation, if that was the case. Man, I still have a hard time believing that someone would do that. Like, 2 people in our group would do this and they not be... Like, I could see Lotus doing it. But if that automatically excludes Lotus, right? Lotus is 8, Snake is 2, which is 10, and then in order for the digital root, you would need the other number to be a 2 to add up to 3. I mean, it would have to add up to 12 total, right? So it's obviously not 2 snakes. But, I mean, what about, like, if we did the same thing with Santa, that would add up to 5, which means the other one would have to be, well, shit, it'd be 7, and 7's the one that brought this up. I don't think 7 and... I don't know. I'm sure there's other combinations too, like, those are just the 2 people that I dislike. I guess if Ace were to do it, that'd be 3. No, because that would need to be a 9. So Ace is in the clear, Lotus is in the clear, right? Essentially. If we're going off the... Like, I still don't like the idea that someone in our group did this, but... I don't think Clover would kill her own brother. But 4 and 2 is 6, and then... So, like, Clover and June are an option, right? 6 is 12. No. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Anyway, let's just continue with the game.
Whoever makes it through door 9 is a winner, and those who don't are the losers. Zero is trying to make us fight against one another for that victory.
Then you're saying that Zero is trying to split us up by making us fight each other?
Also, just to reiterate, because I'm racking my brain trying to think about this. If Clover was one of the ones, why would she want us to go through door 3? You would think she'd want to, like, hide what happened, you know? And not tell anyone. But she was the one that kind of pointed us in the direction of going through door 3 when everyone was ready to move on, you know? So, anyway. And I mean, unless they do some shenanigans where, like, our point of view as Junpei, we don't see everything that he does and Junpei does it or some shit, but that'd be kind of silly. Are there even any other combinations? I don't think there are they? That don't involve Junpei? If you cut out Junpei, we already know that Lotus, it's definitely not Lotus, and it's definitely not Ace. I did Santa, right? I guess it could have been... Either way, I think Santa and Snake would be 5, and then, Oh yeah, no, I did that already. Would have been, Santa and 7. That's right, I already did that. So Santa, there is, okay. So Santa and 7, or June and Clover, I think are the only 2 options. But yeah, this is what I also think is possible, is that, Zero is trying to split us up by making us fight each other. I think that's possible.
Yes.
But he also hasn't done anything to, like, break the rules yet, and he was generous enough to give us a door in order to get back to Ace, you know? He could have just made us leave Ace behind completely. So I feel like Zero hasn't, like, done anything to betray the rules and make it so it's out of our hands, you know? But I don't know.
That is why we can't let ourselves fall prey to suspicion. We have to trust one another and form a strong bond of friendship. Otherwise, we'll end up ensnared by Zero's manipulations.
Then does that mean that the person who killed Snake...
Yes. Almost certainly Zero himself. If
that
there's
was one of my
anyone we should
theories
doubt,
before.
It should be Zero.
Never know.
He masterminded this game and kidnapped all of us. Doesn't it seem reasonable that he would have killed Snake as well?
And that's not just Ace trying to, you know, cover himself because it's not possible for Ace to be there because that would mean they would have to go through with 9 who's dead, so... Junpei hadn't really considered that.
If Zero killed Snake, then Zero is on the ship with us.
Junpei. Was Zero still in the ship with them? Shit. Junpei wasn't sure, or of course? I mean, I feel like I'm not sure. So I feel like not sure might be the right option. I feel like it's obviously too soon to jump to of course. He wasn't sure.
Something's still strange.
What was that?
Well, I'm just wondering about one thing.
And what's that?
How can you be so sure that Zero's on this ship?
Ace's eyebrows shot up.
Really, Junpei? I confess I'm a little disappointed. Usually you're rather sharp. Isn't it obvious?
Wait, it is?
This ship.
Huh?
Zero said, "this ship," several times when he addressed us. If he weren't here, he wouldn't say this ship.
Well, I mean, he's talking to them in the aspect that they're on the ship, so wouldn't he? I feel like you could still do that. I guess you would say that ship, I guess. Because if I was talking to someone, like, over a phone from a different location, you know? I guess that's true. I didn't even consider that. Because you'd say, like, you know, that ship you're on, or you know, I don't know.
He'd be saying something like, that ship.
Exactly.
Or the ship.
Huh.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Interesting. Ace's explanation made perfect sense. Junpei felt a little foolish that he hadn't seen it himself. Still, he was left with a question, and it was one of no small importance.
If Zero's on the ship, where is he?
He probably has secret passages all over the place. That's what I was thinking about before. Easily, he could have, like, snuck in a different means, even though they've been searching every room and they haven't found him, you know. Easily could have some secret passages. Suddenly everyone went quiet. The silence was cold and clammy, and Junpei could feel it crawling across his back and around his throat. Again, he heard the ghosting, moaning noise. And moments later, a person who looked more ghost than human appeared. Oh jeez, it was Clover. She looked at the floor as she spoke, and her voice was a cold monotone.
I think Zero is one of us.
Oh shit. Everyone's reaction. Every human body in the room froze. The only sound was the muffled rustling of breath. I mean, I guess if Zero was one of them, they could have easily, like... Okay, let's assume that Clover and June is not the group that I did the math for that did it. Let's assume that it was Santa and Seven. What if Santa was, you know, potentially Zero? I'm not saying this is what I believe, but... And he could have promised Seven about getting, like, his memories back or something if he helped, like, dispose of Snake. I don't know. Eyes darted from face to face. One of those faces was the face of their jailer. But who? Was he one of them? Well, that's possible. That's crazy. I mean, it's definitely possible, I'd say. I can't say that it's crazy. So...
Well, that's possible.
Huh?
Like Clover said, Zero might be one of us.
What are you saying, Jumpy? Didn't you hear what Ace said?
Exactly. I said we shouldn't suspect one another for no reason.
No reason. I've got a great reason. And what's that?
The bracelets.
Right.
Why are the
What about
bombs
him?
in our bodies connected to the bracelets? You're all thinking Zero's hiding somewhere watching us, right? If he's doing that, then he could just detonate the bombs by remote control if someone did something they weren't supposed to. It would be a lot more precise and a lot easier. But if that's the case, then why is the bomb set off by the detonator in the bracelet?
Yeah, I guess that's true because the person's with them and they wouldn't be able to detonate them easily.
You got a point.
I mean, that's big time speculation, but
I'm not done. Try applying the same ideas to the nonary game. All of the puzzles here run all by themselves. In other words, Zero doesn't have to be controlling them for the game to move forward. Why's that? Why would Zero bother to do something like that?
Junpei let the question hang in the air and looked at the others. It was Santa who answered.
So let's say you and Clover are right. Zero's one of us. If that's the case, then it'd be really hard for him to keep track of all of us or control anything remotely. That's why all the puzzles run by themselves. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
Junpei nodded.
7, when we were talking earlier, you said any one of us could be Snake's killer, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Alright then. I've got a question for you, Ace. You said something like Zero must be the one who killed Snake, right?
Yes, something like that. I can't think of any other explanation.
So what do we get if we combine those? They fit together pretty well, I think. Something like this.
I don't know why that line was just kind of funny. The way Junpei set that up, it reminded me of something out of like, Dora the Explorer or something, where it's just like, if we have this and this, then what do we get when we put them together?
Whoever killed Snake is Zero. Hence, Zero is one of us. 7 and Ace's theories aren't mutually exclusive. They actually complement each other pretty well. At least they do if Zero is one of us.
No one spoke. Their faces were grim, but Junpei wasn't sure if they believed him or not. Finally, Lotus spoke up.
What were his motives?
His motives?
Yes, isn't that pretty important? Why would Zero want to hide as one of us?
Oh, well, that's because...
I mean, it easily could be fun for him, you know? Some kind of like sociopath sort of thing, but Junpei choked. He hadn't thought of that, and he had to be honest with himself. He had no idea.
I don't know.
Lotus sighed.
Well, so much for making a persuasive argument, Junpei.
In other words, you only had circumstantial evidence.
I don't really think that's enough to go on, you know?
Junpei was painfully aware of their eyes on him and their disapproval. He tried to find something else, anything else to look at. Then, in that horrible silence... Oh. What time is it now? 3 a.m.? They heard a bell begin to ring. It was the clock at the central staircase.
It's 3 in the morning.
Yep.
That means we have 3 hours left.
Then we need
3
to
hours
move
left.
now. 7, Clover, Junpei, I know how you feel, but you do understand that right now it's important we trust one another, don't you?
You're right, but...
Junpei couldn't bring himself to respond. He swallowed the words he wanted to say inside. 7 and Clover remained similarly silent. Their eyes were looking at something somewhere else, very far away.
We must go. We have very little time left.
Ace's words put their feet to moving. They all knew where they were going.
Our next destination is Mercury.
Mercury.
But maybe you and June should check it out first and then report back to us.
All right, let's go, June.
Why?
Right.
Where do they have to go?
Here it is.
Alright, before we hit up this Mercury door, that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is a very somber episode because I really like Snake and he is dead, so that really sucks. I don't know what to think. I mean, I kind of stressed my opinions on the whole, Zero being one of them. I think it's possible, but am I positive on it? Not really. I did a little bit of math trying to figure out who was the one that potentially could have, you know, got Snake through the door. Now, another thing that I thought of just before this scene here was it's possible that Snake, or whoever, or like, it could be one person that orchestrated this, right? And they could have somehow threatened or something two other people. So it could have been 4 people total. One person pushing the 2 others to do this to Snake, you know? And, I mean, that'd be kind of crazy. Like, what if this was Lotus's plan or something, and she pushed Seven and Seven and Santa to open the door and push Snake through, you know? And Lotus was the one, like, manipulating it from a distance. So there's, like, so many different options that we could go with here and everything. It's hard to say, but I'm looking forward to maybe getting answers eventually. But that's going to be it for this episode, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya!